Hello, 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 and welcome to the Painted by Quarterly Slush Pile. We're so happy that with all the pods out there, you've chosen ours. Thank you for being here. What we're ready to embark upon is an editorial meeting. And we are going to discuss two poems by Sarah Brockhaus, and we're so thrilled that she said that we could. So first, what we do is go around the room so that you hear our voices and introduce ourselves. And I decided, without telling the group, that we should stop talking about the weather, but instead think of fun questions we might ask to like kick things off, you know? So I'm gonna start. I don't know how fun this is. It might be really, really boring. But I was thinking about this because I gratitude journal and I teach things about gratitude journaling all the time. And I joke, but it's not just a joke. My gratitude journal is filled with the words sparkling water, wine, coffee, because I am grateful for those things. And I just happen to repeat them like every single time I go to make a list, wine comes out. Right. And I don't even drink wine every day. I certainly drink sparkling water and coffee every day. But those three things are in rotation all the time. So I'm Kathleen Volkmiller, and I'm going to bounce it to Jason Schneiderman. And Jason, you can either say what your favorite beverage is, or if you kept a gratitude journal, what would probably be there on repeat.
Oh,
Either one.
I was part of a gratitude group um many years ago coming out of my dojo. I was actually part of a every morning we all emailed each other our gratitudes, and what
Oh,
ended up coming up over and over again was coffee and exercise, but the group devolved into tears and recrimination. And it was sort of one of those things where like absolutely the gratitude group, and this was like in 20 like this is like 2009, 2010. This was before like it had really taken off. But yeah, so coffee would be the dominant one. I thought we got to ask our own questions. Like I was going to ask, what were you thinking? Like that was my question.
well, no, we're going to
Or like that's just my
rotate
all-purpose
weeks.
question is
We'll,
what were you
we'll,
thinking?
we'll
But
rotate weeks. It might not be
yeah,
fair,
okay,
like
all
to
right.
throw a new question at every person when we bounce it along,
Well,
right?
well, well. Now that we know how
You
my
can
brain
ask that
works,
next session.
yeah, no, we may not want to use my questions. We may ban me from question asking. We'd be like, no, Jason, that is
No, I
out.
love
No,
questions like that.
no
I'm
questions from Jason. Yeah,
when I
but
taught in
yeah, coffee.
Ireland, I met a girl that was given a grant. Are you ready for this? For
Yeah.
$20,000 to travel wherever she wanted for 3 months and walk up to people and say, "What are you waiting for?"
I
I
rolled my eyes
promise you.
so hard, I just went blind for a second. Um, I was just like, oh yeah, wow. I
Yep,
wow. Was she
yep.
was she a wonderful person and this was actually like a great thing to do, or was this as awful as it sounds to me?
Both things are true. Both
I
things
mean, she
can
didn't listen to the podcast,
coexist.
so you don't want to like
She
you
was
should definitely say
lovely.
she was wonderful.
She was lovely and had the best energy and was perfect for that role. But I did question it for some reasons. Yeah, sure.
I
Absolutely.
the like the people who approach you on the streets of New York to ask you to donate to like, good causes. They're excellent
Sure,
causes, but
sure.
it's, just the person on the street. Like there was a person who for a brief moment the question that they would approach you with was, "Do you know where I can find my next smile?"
Hmm.
And it sounds adorable until it's like not in my pocket. So anyway, I've taken too much time, but that is my answer will
Yeah,
ultimately be
okay, so
coffee.
that's coffee for
Coffee.
Jason. And how are you doing, Lisa?
Oh, I'm doing well, Kathy. I'm a little scratchy. I think the pollen is getting to me, but other than that, I'm doing great. And I am also, of course, thankful for coffee every day. I cannot function without it. But lately, in a bid to reduce my interaction with my phone and social media, I have been making better use of my public library. And so
Oh,
when someone recommends a book to me or I read a review and I'm interested in the book, I'll just immediately put a request for my public library to get that book. And so it's just been like this constant serendipity of wonderful books just appearing and, whenever they might become available. So the latest one that I've been loving is called The Copywriter by Daniel Poppick, and it's actually written by a poet who was employed as a copywriter quite unhappily. So it's the
Nice.
latest in the series of poets writing novels series, but it's fun, and I think you guys would like it.
That's amazing. And you know what else is amazing? I thought, what a wonderful life tip. And then you gave us a second life tip, and then you gave us a book recommendation. So if you want to put your phone down and get work done, go to the library because you'll be embarrassed and you can't make noise, right? Perfect, perfect solution. Work in the library. Second solution, get those books, use that library, keep them going. And third tip, read that book. Brava,
There you
brava.
go.
All right. How about you, Toby? What's happening?
Wow, so much. I never experienced gratitude, so this is a good challenge. Uh,
Oh, we're gonna have a side convo, honey.
I think I'm just kidding. What I guess since we have a ban on weather conversations, I'm really grateful for the existence of like poetry recordings online. I drive a lot, so sometimes like if I get tired of music, I'll just put on a poetry reading from like 2002 or 2009 or something, and it'll
Nice.
be
That's
really great. There's
interesting.
also a
Yeah.
really great podcast called Penn Sound, or called Poem Talk from Penn Sound, and they just do like a close reading of one or two poems from a recent poet. So
Yeah.
despite despite the ban on weather talk, the Poem Talk episode on Lisa Robertson's weather is really good. This is really, I'm being intransigent. There's also other good ones, but I just wanted to talk about weather some more.
Awesome.
Toby, what
And
was that poet's name again?
Lisa Robertson.
Lisa
She's
Robertson. Thank you.
Canadian.
okay. And we're ready for Eric. Hey, Eric Baker.
Hey, party people. How are we doing today?
Good.
What am I grateful for? Is it boring if I also say coffee, but it's espresso with a little brown sugar? Is that enough spice?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
no,
really
that's
grateful for?
lovely.
You know what I'm
Specificity is
really
always
grateful
welcome.
for? I am doing 2 weeks of conferences with students in my comp lit class, and I'm asking them only to come with a text and a question. And the questions are so good, and they're so used to not simply asking a question, just talking about it. And they're blowing my mind. And we're reading like Marquez and Carrington, which is really magical, crazy stuff to begin with. It's just beautiful. So I'm so grateful for my students. I'm so grateful for the curiosity. It's like the highlight of
That's,
my day every Wednesday. This too, every few Wednesdays.
that's beautiful. I'm so glad for you. And okay, well, that I think that was fun. I hope our listeners think that was fun. People are asking me more and more why we aren't on YouTube. I don't want to be on YouTube. Like I'm dressed and fluffed and folded this morning, but most of the time I'm really not. I'm usually poo bearing it, to be perfectly honest. But today I have to take off right afterwards. So we'll have to table that. Maybe we'll talk about that over the summer.
Isn't YouTube like, aren't YouTube podcasts for when everyone's like in the same room? Don't you have to be like at the same table with your little microphones and
Well, yeah, I mean, we could do a combo of that, or we could, I don't know if there's any that are this. Are there any that are on Zoom? You can still see all of our, I could still poo bear it. We could still all just see our faces. You
Kathy,
just
I,
have to,
I think I need a definition of poo bearing it.
it's when
oh,
you don't
Lisa,
wear
Lisa.
pants. It's when you wear a shirt with no pants.
Picture
Okay.
Pooh Bear, Lisa.
Business on top. Party on the bottom.
Anyway, all right. Enough shenanigans. We are here to discuss some poems. And we have Sarah Brockhaus two from her today. And Still Here is up first. And who's going to do it for us? Who would like to read?
I can jump in.
All right, Jason, thank you.
Still here. I try to teach my students to exist outside themselves, and they email about double spacing and panic apologize for 1201 submissions. And I want to see them and say, we're real people. All of us, we're real. Do you see? But I stare at my wall for hours and it means nothing. I've been losing things in dreams, each shape after images on my lids, and I can't see the space around enough to place them. Perhaps there never was a hairbrush, a magnet in the shape of Louisiana, a letter written springs ago. Fingers trace the handwriting by heart like revision. Same stories and script, but the wrong heart. I'm translating farther and farther from the origin. My nails grow too long. I imagine myself bodiless, avoid reflections. I hold still and myself. There are 8 taxidermied ducklings at the craft fair. So like life and so still. I want to break them from the cage, find a way for their bodies to hold again.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's we should let the you should probably take a look at the slushies because it is lineated in this really interesting way. So it's kind of taking advantage of the page. It's not a traditional kind of left alignment. There's a lot of indentation, and even though we have 3-line stanzas, there's a lot of variance in line length and kind of where the arrangement on the page is definitely complicated and irregular. So take a look.
And it's also heavily enjambed.
Mhm.
Yeah. I really the voice I think is so clear. Like I have such a sense of kind of the urgency with which everything's being said. There's such a kind of power. And then the associations are really great. I love those taxidermy ducklings. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
The way that word
Yeah.
hold is working as a portal between some of those jumps towards the end is it's magnificent, really.
Which word?
Yeah, hold still
Hmm.
and myself, and later the last line. 3 treatments of that verb.
Hmm. Mm.
And because so much of it is about what you can't hold on to, like all these ephemeral things and things that can, the wall means nothing. I'm losing things in dreams. Like, was there ever a hairbrush? Like all of this, kind of, kind of inability to hold on to anything, right?
I think another important repetition is the word still in the title. And as Eric noted, I hold still in myself. And then also that gesture towards the taxidermy ducklings, so like life and so still. Um, I think that kind of stasis and then also the inability to hold on to something is kind of where the tension is in this poem.
Eric, it's so funny you were talking about meeting with comp students, and then here it is, all of the emails from the composition students wanting to talk about MLA formatting and late submissions.
Yeah.
It definitely felt real to me because I've been getting a lot of those panicked 1201 submission emails, and I was just wondering like how you're feeling about the poem since that was something you brought up earlier.
Yeah, I mean, on the one, professionally, it's beautiful to see a teacher making their writing life and their teaching life blend together in this honest, earnest, and beautiful way. Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes my students will grovel when I just want them to feel free, when they think about the points and not like the point of learning and guiding themselves. And there are moments where I'm like, my heart is almost broken when I receive too many of the one kind like the fear. And I wonder what it is, what kind of values are we all really holding close to our chest? Can I make them feel free in English 101 in a matter of a few months? Um, yeah, the sort of existential oomph that comes from those moments, even though it's terrifying for me in a different way than it's terrifying for them, the late
Mhm.
deadline. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, I just love that we're real people. Like I just thought it because that there are ways in which different relationships create different power differentials and dynamics, and you have to have boundaries in place, right? Like you can't have this like complete intimacy with a student that you would have with a friend, that you would have with a partner, that you would have with a parent. Like there are these really important barriers that we need in place that are called boundaries. And yet, like sometimes you're like, but we're just like, please, let's be human for a moment. Like, let's kind of have
Hmm.
that connection. I mean, my favorite, I call them the God emails that I get these emails from students. They're like, and it's nothing. It's like the Brightspace, the learning management system switched something to a zero instead. And it's like, I understand why you've made this decision, but I pray that you'll change. And it's like, I didn't do anything. Like, but it's like there's this interpretation for this act that I didn't take. That's just an algorithm. That then I'm receiving this lengthy email interpreting it as though like I'm God. The silence of Professor Schneiderman has this incredible meaning that can be like interpreted back to me. And like I thought that was so yeah, it's like you just want to be like, no, like I'm a real person. Like it wasn't me, it was just an algorithm.
Yeah.
It's all okay. I mean it's not all okay, but in terms of this situation, it's okay.
I think one thing, yeah, I guess there's lots of ways that the poet's ear and like kind of desire to um reimagine language comes up in the poem. I think the first moment is when the sentence each shape after images on my lids. I think like it might take the reader a little bit of time to realize that after image is being used as a verb. It's kind of like the which English is often good at, but changing a noun into a verb and avoiding the kind of excess language that would be like each shape makes after images on my lids. It feels I feel like the poet's like really kind of agile and in tune with like where they want the meanings to kind of double and and create wider associations. I've obviously Eric mentioned the way that hold kind of changes in three different ways. Um, and I think, across the enjambments, there's like a lot of activity too.
I think those enjambments you mentioned, Toby, I think that really um, adds to this sense of difficulty of putting your finger on something.
Hmm.
It's like it's this constant shifting as you progress through the poem. You're not entirely sure what the meaning is. It's like slowly changing as it cascades down the page. I think the form and the intent of the poem are nicely matched.
Well said. And the flow is really lovely, like the way in which it kind of moves between all of the associations. Um, I never felt lost. I felt grounded the entire poem, and Richard Siken always says like focus less on the lyric leap and focus more on the lyric landing. Um, and yeah, like every landing, like it sticks like every single landing. Every one of these leaps goes somewhere that seems, unexpected and inevitable.
Yeah, I really love what I see is kind of like almost the whole point that, or I don't know, I'm very much moved and surprised by fingers trace the handwriting by heart like revision. Same stories in script, but the wrong heart. That is just gorgeous to me. And the wrong heart. I'm translating further and further from the origin. Like the whole thing now for me becomes that letter written springs ago.
I really love the part about being bodiless and avoiding reflections and the way that mirrors the beginning of like wanting to insist on the reality of the people, like hating the virtual and the way that it kind of separates us in our physicality, but then wanting to like move away from that physicality and to pretend to be bodiless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the letter, right? The letter is a different kind of virtuality, right? The letter is a different kind of presence and absence and
Hmm.
self that arrives with the self not there.
Yeah.
But also, Jason, I think you've nailed something important here that the letter is on paper.
Yeah.
So it's a physical object and can be returned to, and the handwriting can be traced, unlike the emails at the beginning of the poem, which are so much more ephemeral. I think there's a nice distinction made there in this poem as well.
Should we vote? Like, I mean, it seems like we're pretty like I no one
That's
said
what I'm feeling.
anything. No one has had like a single hesitation about this poem. Like the only things we
I'm
have said is
feeling
like,
like we're ready.
all right,
All right, let's do it.
okay.
One, two, three, vote. And it's in. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Sarah Brockhaus. Let me repeat Jason's suggestion, Slushies, that you go to pbqmag.org. You really must look at the spacing on that poem. The next one we're about to discuss also is doing lots of wild stuff, like spacing in the middle of lines and all sorts of things. So, take a look if you can. Pull over while you're listening and take a look, and then get back on the road and listen. Who's going to read this one and look at that title? My goodness, who would like to read this one?
I can do it, but I need help with this title. I looked it up. Incredible. But I could use a little pronunciation guidance. Is that phonic nausea? Is that close?
Oh, yeah. Well, we can ask the interweb.
The AI.
Well, it doesn't have to be AI. I can, we can ask one of the voice things, right? So, can you tell our listeners what it means, Eric, while I look at up the pronunciation?
It's a condition in which it's difficult for an individual to figure out who is speaking or to assign a voice to a particular person. Is that right?
Yeah. A
Yeah.
loss of knowledge, inability to recognize familiar voices, voice blindness.
Wow, I know. I mean, I've heard of face blindness, never heard of voice blindness, and how interesting that we're on a podcast talking about voice blindness. And started today saying, let's all say hi so they know our voices. Well, okay. All right, let's listen to how to pronounce it. Here it is.
That was not helpful. Try that again.
Huh. Sounds Greek to me.
I heard Fona and Shia, but I didn't hear the second to last syllable. Is it
She
nausea
she
or?
is she is hard on the G. Yeah, saying it over and over again. Listen. Phonagnasia. It sounds more like she's saying nausea instead of nausea, but it's phonagnasia.
Phonic
Phonagnosia.
nausea.
Okay.
Phonic nausea. Okay.
Yeah. Phonagnosia.
Phonic nausea.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna start.
Okay.
Phonic nausea. A wasp taps again against the window. I imagine the hollow clunk communicating other causes, an acorn slouching from a branch into a pool, a man's head drunk, hitting the wall lullabiacally, my hand slid into the space between skin and cinder block, how one might protect a baby's soft skull from a corner. I try to tell the wasp I am not home, and everything from my body sounds human. To sleep, I make lists on the uselessness of language. The phrase, how are you? And how you're doing well is a wall I trace my own name on like tally marks. How the sea swallows song and estranges it. How without air I am voiceless. How I haven't trained my ear to echo locate and can't even vibrate some signal through a pane of glass. Can't replay what you said years ago in any voice but the one inside me that won't go, won't sound like anyone I know.
Nice.
Thank you, thank you,
Perfect.
thank you.
Nice reading, Eric. You did a good job of reading that, including the pauses that are within the poem. Yeah, so Slushies, make sure you do look at that because there are a lot of caesura in this poem.
I mean, the tension between those enjambments and then the caesura is a really wonderfully dislocating experience, which I think might fit the experience of the title that the title suggests. But these are really surprising caesura, just to read out loud. There's like a gasp more than a pause.
Yeah, it opens the syntax in a way that almost dissolves the sentence. Like the other one was so enjammed that you were kind of creating different movements through the sentence, whereas I feel like this one sort of opens them up in ways that almost kind of make it abstract or sort of like abstract the clauses and phrases and nouns in ways that they sort of like float a little bit free of the sentence structure. How do you feel about lullaby? I mean, clearly it is a adjectival form of lullaby,
Hmm.
lullabically. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Hmm. You know, my instinct as myself as a I guess as a reader, I do feel like it would be served by actually a caesura right before it, so the reader could get ready to try to say it, or try to see it. And it sounds a little bit. It sounds like labial. Like it sounds like it involves lips, and it sounds like it kind of involves, uh, yeah, a kind of like liquid utterance. So I think the way the word appears is interesting to me. The kind of associations that come with it, and also like the idea of this drunk head being calming, a kind of like a rest inducing pattern is also interesting. But I do agree that the word is both difficult and also kind of beautiful in a way.
I think it's a
Well,
stretch, but I really I went with it. I thought it was well done, and I like how physically the word has all of those L's in it after wall, which kind of look like impediments or walls themselves. And for me, I know like it is a thing that babies sometimes will repeatedly hit their head against like their crib in order to get to sleep. And I liked that idea of um, that self-soothing that might actually be dangerous. So I think there's a lot of power in that one word. And I think if it happened twice in the poem, I might be more suspicious, but once I was like, okay, yes.
I have to admit that I'm having a trouble with my own patience on this one. And that's really the only word I can use. Like those pauses are I'm not enjoying them. I'm having a hard time with them. And that obviously could be me.
I think you're putting your finger on something that it's challenging. Um, it's a challenging. I mean, one of the things about like lullabically is that it works for me really well visually, but as like if I
Mhm.
try to say it out loud, it just sort of falls apart. And that's the kind of thing that I think is happening a lot in the poem, that like the voice is disintegrating, even though visually um, the poem is entirely legible. Also, I can't find like I can't find phonogonosia in the Oxford English Dictionary. Like I was looking it up, like it's interestingly not in a lot of dictionaries that I'm used to trying.
I think
Hmm.
it's as a medical condition. So I think if you looked it up in a medical dictionary, you might find it. It is associated with dementia, a kind of dementia, the inability to recognize a familiar voice.
That might be a clue as to I don't know. I mean, I don't think the narrative is there. I don't want to put narrative there because it's not there, but it does kind of give you a sense of what the conversation that happens in the middle of the poem might be like. Um, but there's a kind of forgetting that happens between the speaker saying, "How are you?" and the answerer saying, "Doing well." The sea swallows song and estranges it. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that part of the poem, the intensity of the interaction of kind of losing one's name in somebody else's response, feels like it needs like a kind of grounding understanding of why the interaction might be so intense, or why the why this conversation is different from like any other time you say hi or and how are you doing. But yeah, it does feel like somehow the idea of somebody actually experiencing this symptom um enters the poem, and it might, yeah, it might be a little bit too vague in the way it does.
I mean, I mean, the whole thing is being disturbed by the wasp that's hitting the window, right? That like the tapping of the wasp, who doesn't know that the window is a window,
Right.
um, keeps disturbing the speaker, and then this sound is kind of relating to other sounds. This voice blindness. I love I make lists on the uselessness of language. And I mean, Toby was mentioning earlier, because English is a word order language, you can make anything into a verb as long as you put it after the subject. Um, you Charlie Sheen to that. It doesn't matter if it's a name, right? And English, I mean, sometimes we like contract and contract, like we move the stress so that like on the first stress it's a noun and on the second stress it's a verb. But you can actually any word can become a verb based on the word order. And she definitely takes advantage of kind of the ways in which English has these like word order features that can both kind of mean and decohere.
I heard someone refer to this as verbing recently.
Mhm.
I had never heard that term before, but I guess that's something we can do in English.
Yeah. Well, and I can't say it. I can't say it. And yet it's so clearly an adverbial ending added to lullaby. Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed, and I think it's really fascinating that it does not work at a sonic level, and it is so transparent at the textual level.
Yeah,
Don't you think that we're making new words at a peak now? Like people are making new words all the time.
Well, my
Verbing, perhapsing is a word now.
my nephew asked he was writing something and he wanted because marriage has the adjective marital. And so he asked ChatGPT for like a adjectival form of divorce, and it came back with divorcial. And he was like, "Is this real?" And like, and in like the very sort of ChatGPT way, it was like, "Yes, of course it was used by this philosopher or this sociologist in this particular book, and here's a quote." But like everyone is, give me a quote from the book. Okay, here's a quote from the book. Is that book real? No, it's not. Did you make that up? Yes, I did. It's actually not real. And it was fascinating because like after like, 15 interchanges, no one has ever used the word divorcio. Um, and yet it's a pretty good word.
It works. It works.
Like now that, it's been put into the world by the algorithm through pattern recognition, you're like, all right, I don't know, divorcio, I guess it's real.
We're going to have words that have been hallucinated by ChatGPT.
Well, I mean, dictionaries are an attempt to solidify language that have came into being in the 1700s, and we seem to want everything that was orderly to be destroyed. Like, I mean, we live in this like chaotic edgelord moment. Why not destroy I mean, obviously, I know why not. I mean, because I teach composition. I want, like, I need to have some rules. But yeah, but culturally, yeah. And I mean, the ones that really hate me are the ones that really hate me, the ones I really hate. Ooh, all right. I'll talk to my analyst about that one. The words that really hate me are the like acronyms, like the POTUS and the FLOTUS and the SCOTUS and they make me so mad. Um, like they're just and again because they're only visual. Like they don't actually save you any time when you're talking. They're just, they're blog speak, but they're not even speak. They're like this like weird like text universe. But we should get back to this poem. I am now off on a tangent. But I think the poem's ratio of like challenge to pleasure is high. Um, but in the other one, the ratio of challenge to pleasure was like really in the favor of pleasure. And I think in this one, like there's a much higher demand on the reader that it really is like intentionally challenging.
I feel like the ambition is definitely commendable. I mean, I think, one version of this poem could just be like, I'm gonna spool out all the possible homophones for wasps tapping on the window. But I think this poet is really interesting because yeah, I think that they're like basically trying to create a world, kind of world making gesture out of like, oh, not only can I like imagine different meanings for this sound, the fact that I can imagine different meanings from the sound is troubling for me as like as a sense of like recognizing the world. So I mean, if nothing else, I recognize the ambition and like the kind of the stake raising that the poem is doing.
If I'm devil's advocate, I guess I would argue that the um, difficulty of comprehension somewhat mimics the difficulty of communication. And I know we've had this conversation in the past of, should the poem enact the thing that it is trying to describe? Um, but I think I'm convinced by the breaks and the images that are included here. And as I noted before with the double L's in wall and syllabically, if you look through, there are a lot of double L's in this poem throughout, which to me also represent this kind of wall going through.
Yeah, there's a lot of I hadn't been looking for the consonants, but clunk communicating other causes and acorn. Oh yeah, it's totally there as soon as you start looking for it. The sonic work is really intense.
What's your
And
sense of your other difficulties, Kathleen? Or I guess how else is your patience being tested?
Well, I feel like Jason articulated it better. Like there's so many pauses, and it's also kind of amorphous that I'm lost. I'm just having a really hard time finding my place. Finding the thread to pull me through. So yeah.
yeah. Oh my God, those L's. To sleep, I make lists on the uselessness of language. Yeah, and also well done, Sarah Brockhaus, in ordering your submission and making sure that we fell in love with you on the first poem, so that in the second poem, when you have more demand upon us, we are already engaged and
Take
trusting.
notes. Take notes, slushies.
Yes, yes, submitters, pay attention to how to hold your audience before you challenge them. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's really the question, like whether the challenge, feels like it pays off in terms of what happened. I mean, the structure, there's so much interesting stuff, but it does challenge sense, right? That it sort of there's not a it's not a meditation exactly. It's not a narrative exactly, and yet it's not a monologue exactly. Like it sort of has all of these qualities. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's about losing your recognition of voice.
Yeah.
Well, should we vote on this one, guys? Does anyone else have any other comments they'd like to add?
I think we should go for it.
I
Let's do
guess
it.
that
Let's
means
thumbs out.
no.
Thumbs out.
One,
One,
two,
two,
three.
three.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, all right.
Oh,
Kathy, do you want me to announce it since you're having a little echo problem? All right, it is in. We have a second success. We're 2 for 2. We are 2 for 2. Sarah Brockhaus, well done. You have earned 100% acceptance rate
woo.
from this packet for Painted Bride Quarterly.
And thanks so much, Sarah, for trusting us with your work and giving us such a meaty discussion today. It was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, this one is really like the structuring is so careful. It really does reward repeated return as challenge often does. All right,
Yeah.
slushies. So I think that's it for us today. And thank you for tuning in. Stick with us and weigh in. We had a discussion earlier about whether or not we should be doing this on YouTube. Would you want to see our faces in little screens on
In Zoom
Zoom,
squares.
in Zoom squares? Because we do this from all over the world. So, let us know if you want to see us or if you are very happy just
Yeah.
listening to the sounds of our voices. All right.
If you want us to be able to Pooh Bear or not.
I do
And
think that,
slushies, we don't know
there's
if
a
you're Pooh
real
Bear.
a real opportunity in seeing all our faces react to the Pooh Bear comment.
That is
That was a great moment for me. So
I learned something new today. It's an awesome day.
all right. We'll see you
Yeah.
Next time.
Thank you,
thank
everybody.
you.
Keep reading. Woohoo!
Bye, slushies.